The specimen slides told the same story they had told for 93 days straight. Death. Always death. Lily pressed her forehead against the cool glass of the observation window and watched the young Valeni prince sleep in his quarantine bed. His silver skin had turned gray. The crystalline patterns that normally shimmered across Valeni bodies had gone dull and cracked. Crimson veins spread beneath his flesh like roots of some terrible tree. She had 8 hours of recorded data showing exactly how the crimson rot killed. It started in the lymphatic system, then spread to major organs, then finally attacked the nervous system. Pain came first, then paralysis, then a slow shutdown of every biological function. The Valeni had survived for thousands of years across 100 worlds, but this disease killed every single one it touched. Eric had maybe 2 days left. His father, the Valeni Emperor, had sent 17 of his best doctors. The Hegemony Council had dispatched their top researchers. Everyone agreed on one thing. There was no cure. The pathogen was too aggressive, too adaptive. It killed faster than any treatment could work. Lily pulled up her latest simulation on the screen. The human immune system worked differently than Valeni biology. Human antibodies were messy, chaotic things that threw everything at a problem until something stuck. Valeni immunity was elegant and precise, which made it vulnerable when something truly novel appeared. Her simulation showed a 47% chance that human antibodies could create a template for a cure. The problem was simple. To get those antibodies, a human had to be infected. The crimson rot killed humans just as dead as it killed Valeni. Faster, actually. 6 to 8 hours from infection to death. Doctor Webb found her an hour later, still staring at the simulation. Her mentor looked older than his 60 years. 3 months on this station had carved new lines into his face. The Emperor is withdrawing his son tomorrow, Webb said quietly, taking him home to die with dignity. I found something, Lily said. Webb looked at the screen. His expression went from curious to horrified in the span of 3 seconds. No, it could work. It's suicide, Lily. You'd have maybe 6 hours to produce enough antibodies for us to synthesize a treatment. That's assuming your body even responds the way the simulation predicts. 47% chance, Lily said. 47% chance it works. 100% chance you die. Webb grabbed her shoulder. I won't let you do this. Lily thought about her sister. Cancer had taken her 8 years ago. Lily had been in her second year of medical school, brilliant and ambitious and utterly useless. She had watched her sister die over 6 months while doctors tried everything. Nothing had worked. She had become a researcher to prevent that helplessness, to be the person who found answers when they mattered. He's 19 years old, Lily said. Same age my sister was when she got diagnosed. This isn't about your sister. Everything I do is about my sister. Lily pulled up the consent forms she had already prepared. I'm doing this. You can help me document it properly, or I can do it alone and waste valuable data. Webb stared at her for a long moment. Then he closed his eyes and nodded once. They worked through the night preparing. Lily recorded detailed observations of her baseline health. She set up continuous monitoring systems. She prepared sample collection protocols that would trigger automatically every 30 minutes. She wrote letters to her parents and her few close friends. She made a video explaining her decision, her reasoning, her hope that even if she failed, the data would help someone else succeed. At dawn, Ambassador Torn arrived. The Valeni diplomat had argued passionately for volunteers, offering vast sums of money, technology, even political favors. Nobody had stepped forward. Now Lily explained what she planned to do. This is too much, Torin said, his voice breaking. We cannot ask this of you. You didn't ask. I'm offering. Lily showed him the simulation. If this works, we save your prince. If it doesn't, you still get 6 hours of data on how human biology interacts with the pathogen. Either way, you gain something, and you lose everything. Lily shrugged. We all die eventually. Might as well make it count. The injection room was sterile and white. Lily sat on the edge of the medical bed while Webb prepared the pathogen sample. Her hands were steady. She felt calm, which surprised her. Maybe this was what peace felt like. Last chance to change your mind, Webb said. I'm good. The needle slid into her arm. The crimson rot entered her bloodstream. Lily started a timer on her wrist display. 6 hours until death. Maybe less. Webb hugged her, then left quickly. She heard him crying in the hallway. Lily lay back and began documenting. Minute 5, slight warmth at injection site. Minute 12, elevated heart rate. Minute 23, fever beginning, temperature rising. Minute 41, pain spreading through lymph nodes. She recorded everything, keeping her voice steady even as her body temperature spiked. Hour 2 brought agony. The disease spread through her like wildfire. She could feel it in her bones, her blood, her brain. She kept talking into the recorder, describing every symptom. The data had to be perfect. Hour 3. She should be approaching paralysis. Instead, something changed. The fever peaked and held steady. Her heart rate stabilized. The pain didn't increase. Hour 4. Webb burst into the room, staring at the monitors. Your vitals are leveling out. I feel okay, Lily whispered. She did. The pain had faded to a dull ache. Her head felt clearer. Hour 6, she sat up, drank water, asked for food. Hour 8, Webb drew blood samples with shaking hands. Under the microscope, they could see it. The pathogen was still there, floating in her bloodstream. But it was dormant, neutralized, harmless. Her antibodies had surrounded each particle and locked it down. We can synthesize a cure, Webb breathed. Right now, we can save him. They worked frantically. Within 2 hours, they had extracted enough antibodies to create a treatment. Torrin administered it to Eric personally. The prince's vitals began improving within minutes. The gray faded from his skin. The crystalline patterns started to shimmer again. Lily watched from her quarantine room as Eric opened his eyes for the first time in days. He looked confused, then hopeful, then overwhelmed with relief. Torrin explained what had happened, who had saved him. The young prince turned to look through the glass at Lily. He pressed his hand against the window. She pressed hers against the other side. Neither of them knew yet what she had become. Neither understood that she hadn't just survived the unsurvivable. She had transformed into something the galaxy had never seen, but they would learn soon enough. 3 days passed before they let Lily out of quarantine. Not because she was sick, but because nobody could explain why she wasn't dead. Dr. Webb ran every test he could think of: blood work, tissue samples, neural scans, genetic sequencing. The results confused everyone. The crimson rot lived in her bloodstream like a guest that had decided to stay, but promised not to cause trouble. Her immune system had built tiny prisons around each pathogen particle. The disease couldn't spread, couldn't replicate, couldn't do anything except exist harmlessly inside her body. This shouldn't be possible, said Dr. Nina Cross, the xenobiologist the hegemony had sent to study Lily. Your immune response is orders of magnitude beyond normal human parameters. It's like your body learned to neutralize the pathogen at a fundamental level. Lily flexed her fingers. She felt fine. Better than fine, actually. She felt strong and clear-headed in a way she hadn't experienced since college. So what happens now? Now we figure out if this was a unique reaction or something reproducible. Nina pulled up a series of proposals on her tablet. With your permission, we'd like to expose you to other pathogens. Non-lethal ones first. See if your immune system responds the same way. Lily thought about it. The scientist in her wanted to know the answer. Okay, let's find out. They started small. Common bacterial infections that antibiotics handled easily. Lily's body eliminated them in hours without any medication. Then viral infections. Same result. Fungal pathogens. Parasites. Her immune system destroyed everything they introduced. We need to try something stronger, Nina said after 2 weeks. Something that would normally require serious medical intervention. Webb objected loudly to each new test, but Lily overruled him. She wanted to know her limits. They exposed her to diseases that killed millions across various species. Plague variants, hemorrhagic fevers, neurodegenerative infections. Her body absorbed them all, neutralized them, made them harmless. By week 4, researchers from across the galaxy had gathered at the station. Everyone wanted to witness the impossible patient. Lily spent her days in examination rooms, while scientists debated theories. Some thought she had mutated. Others believed she had contracted some unknown symbiotic organism. A few suggested she was proof of directed evolution. Eric visited her every day. The prince had recovered fully, his silver skin gleaming with health. He brought her books and music and stories about Valeni culture. They talked for hours about everything except what she had become. Does it frighten you? Eric asked one evening. Being studied like this. Sometimes, Lily admitted. Mostly I'm curious. I survived something that should have killed me. I want to know why. The council is meeting about you next week, Eric said quietly. There's debate about your legal status. My legal status. Some representatives argue that you're no longer fully human, that your transformation makes you something new. They want to classify you as a biological resource rather than a person. Lily felt cold despite the warm room. They want to own me. My father won't let that happen. Neither will I. Eric's crystalline patterns flared bright with determination. You saved my life. I won't let them treat you like property. The next day, they tried something unprecedented. A synthetic bioweapon developed by a long-dead species, preserved in a high-security vault. It had killed billions before its creators learned to contain it. The research team debated for hours about the ethics of exposing Lily to something so dangerous. I'll do it, Lily said. If my immunity works on this, imagine how many lives we could save. They injected her with a dose that would kill most beings in minutes. Lily felt a brief moment of heat, a flash of discomfort, then nothing. Her body integrated the bioweapon into her growing collection of neutralized threats. Webb pulled her aside that night. You need to be careful, Lily. Every time you prove you can handle something new, you become more valuable. More people will want access to you. I'm trying to help people. I know, but power doesn't care about intentions. Webb showed her classified messages he had intercepted. Military groups wanted to study her resistance. Corporations offering massive sums for her genetic material. Criminal organizations planning abduction. You're not just a medical miracle anymore. You're a strategic asset. Director Carla Hayes arrived from the Interstellar Health Coalition the next morning. She was a tall woman with sharp eyes and sharper ambitions. She looked at Lily the way someone might look at a particularly valuable diamond. Dr. Chun, your contribution to medical science is remarkable. The coalition would like to offer you a position as chief research subject. Full salary, complete medical support, comfortable accommodations. Research subject, Lily repeated. We need to understand your immunity. Replicate it if possible. Think of how many lives we could save if we could give others even a fraction of your resistance. I'm already cooperating with research. Independent research is inefficient. The coalition has resources, facilities, the best minds in the galaxy. We could accelerate discoveries that might take decades otherwise. Hay smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. This isn't really optional, Dr. Chun. The Hegemony Council will likely grant us jurisdiction over you. I'm offering you a chance to cooperate voluntarily. Eric stepped forward. Dr. Chun is under Valeni protection. Any attempt to claim jurisdiction over her will be considered an act of aggression against the Empire. Hayes' smile vanished. You would risk political conflict over one human. She's not just one human. She's the person who saved my life. Eric's voice carried absolute authority, and she has the right to determine her own future. The argument escalated. Était une sanction. Eric threatened withdrawal of Valeni support from coalition medical programs. Lily watched them fight over her like she was a prize to be won. Stop, she said quietly. Then louder, stop. Everyone turned to look at her. I'll cooperate with research. I'll provide samples. I'll help however I can. Lily looked directly at Hayes. But I'm not property. I'm not a resource. I'm a person who happens to have unusual biology. If you can't respect that, then you can't have my help. Hayes studied her for a long moment. Very well, Dr. Chun. We'll do this your way. For now. After she left, Webb hugged Lily tightly. That was either very brave or very stupid. Probably both, Lily admitted. That night, she couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about what Webb had said, about becoming too valuable, about people who would see her as a thing to possess rather than a person to respect. She looked at her reflection in the dark window. Same face, same brown eyes, and dark hair. Same scar on her chin from falling off her bike at age 7. She looked human, felt human, but something fundamental had changed inside her. The crimson rot still lived in her blood, dormant and harmless. Along with dozens of other pathogens she had absorbed, her body had become a living archive of neutralized diseases. A walking cure for plagues that killed worlds. She thought about her sister again, about helplessness and hope and the desperate wish to make a difference. She had made a difference. She had saved Eric, and maybe, if she was careful, she could save others too. But first, she would have to survive the people who wanted to own her. Centrum was beautiful in a way that made Lily's chest ache. The capital world of the Hegemony Council gleamed like a jewel suspended in space. Massive towers reached toward the sky, connected by bridges that seemed to float on air. Gardens grew in impossible spirals around buildings. The whole planet hummed with the energy of 40 species living and working together. Lily barely noticed any of it. She was too focused on the enormous chamber where the council met. 40 representatives sat in a circular arrangement, each elevated slightly so everyone could see everyone else. She stood in the center, feeling very small and very human. Dr. Lily Chun, began Counselor Wraith, a being that looked like living crystal. You have been summoned to address certain concerns regarding your unique biological status. I understand, Lily said. Her voice echoed in the vast space. The question before this council is simple, Wraith continued. Are you a person with unusual medical characteristics? Or are you a new form of biological entity that requires different classification? Lily felt anger flash through her. I'm a person. I was born human. I think like a human. I feel like a human. The fact that I survived a disease doesn't change that. Respectfully, Dr. Chun, it changes everything, said Counselor Vren, a reptilian being with golden scales. Your immunity is unprecedented. It represents a fundamental shift in biological possibility. The Council must determine whether you fall under personal liberty protections or biological resource management protocols. Resource management. Lily's hands clenched into fists. You mean slavery. We mean appropriate oversight of a potentially dangerous biological phenomenon, Vren said coldly. What if your condition is contagious? What if it mutates? What if hostile forces acquire your genetic material and weaponize it? Eric stood from the Valeni section. The Valeni Empire recognizes Dr. Chun as a free individual under full personal liberty protections. We will not support any motion to classify her otherwise. The Valeni Empire is not the only voice on this council. Vren shot back. The argument erupted. Representatives shouted in dozens of languages. Translation systems struggled to keep up. Lily stood in the center of the chaos, watching people debate her humanity like it was an academic question. Director Hayes spoke next. Perhaps we can find middle ground. Dr. Chun remains legally autonomous, but agrees to regular medical oversight and restricted travel. For security purposes, that's still treating her like a threat, Eric objected. She's a threat, Hayes said bluntly. Not intentionally, but her very existence destabilizes established medical, military, and economic systems. We need safeguards. Before Lily could respond, alarms shrieked through the chamber. Emergency lights flashed red. A holographic display materialized, showing a civilian station 3 systems away. Biological attack on station refuge, announced an automated voice. Modified plague virus. Estimated casualties, 40,000 within 12 hours. The council chamber went silent. Everyone turned to look at Lily. I'll go, she said immediately. Absolutely not, Webb said from the observer section. We don't know what this plague is. You could be immune to the crimson rot and every test pathogen, but this could be different. Or it could be the same, and I'm the only person who can help. Lily looked at Counselor Wraith. You want to know what I am? I'm someone who doesn't let people die when I can prevent it. Let me prove it. Wraith studied her for a long moment. Very well. but you go under observation. Full medical monitoring. If your immunity fails, we extract you immediately. The transport ship reached Station Refuge in 6 hours. Lily could see the damage through the viewports. Bodies floated in sealed sections. Survivors huddled in quarantine zones, terrified and dying. Medical teams worked frantically, but the plague spread faster than they could contain it. Lily suited up and entered the hot zone. The plague hit her immune system like a hammer. She felt her body react, fighting back against something aggressive and engineered. This wasn't natural. Someone had designed this virus specifically to kill fast and spread faster. She walked through contaminated sections, breathing infected air, touching contaminated surfaces. Her body absorbed the pathogen, analyzed it, neutralized it. Within hours, she had enough antibodies in her system to synthesize a treatment. Medical teams extracted her blood, synthesized a cure, and began distributing it to the infected. People who had been hours from death started recovering. The plague burned out as quickly as it had started. Lily sat in the decontamination chamber afterward, exhausted but satisfied. They had saved 38,000 people. 2,000 had died before she arrived, but 38,000 lived because of her immunity. Webb found her there. You did good, kid. Really good. Someone made that plague on purpose, Lily said. It was too targeted, too efficient. Whoever designed it knew exactly what they were doing. I know. The council is investigating. Webb sat beside her. You realize what this means, right? You just proved you can be used as a living bioweapon countermeasure. Every government with a military is going to want access to you now. Let them want. I'm not a weapon. You're the best weapon against biological warfare that the galaxy has ever seen, whether you want to be or not. Over the next week, the offers came flooding in. Military contracts worth billions. Private security firms wanting to hire her. Corporations promising luxury and comfort in exchange for exclusive access to her antibodies. Criminal syndicates sending thinly veiled threats. General Ruth Park arrived from Earth Defense Forces with a formal proposal. Dr. Chun, humanity needs you. We're vulnerable to biological attacks in a way other species aren't. Your immunity could protect billions of humans. I'm not joining the military, Lily said. I'm not asking you to. I'm asking you to let us study you, protect you, and use your antibodies to defend human colonies. Park's expression softened. Please, I have grandchildren on frontier worlds. If someone attacks them with bioweapons, you're their only hope. Lily felt the weight of it crushing down on her. All these people with legitimate needs and desperate hopes, all looking at her like she was the solution to every problem. That night, she was taken. The abduction happened during transport from her quarters to a research facility. Professional, clean, no violence. She woke up in an unmarked laboratory with a scientist she didn't recognize standing over her. Dr. Chun, my name is Silas Reed. I apologize for the dramatic extraction, but time is critical. He pulled up images of human colonies. A plague is spreading through human settlements, specifically targeting human DNA. We need your antibodies to create a cure, and official channels are too slow. Lily's head ached from whatever drug they had used on her. You kidnapped me. We saved you from bureaucratic paralysis. People are dying. You can save them. Reed seemed genuinely distraught. Please, just provide samples. We'll synthesize a cure and return you safely. No harm done. Lily studied the plague data he showed her. It looked real. Deaths were climbing. The disease spread through human populations with terrible efficiency. Fine, she said. Take your samples. But then you let me go. They drew blood, took tissue samples, ran her through scanner after scanner. Lily cooperated, but something felt wrong. The facility was too well equipped, too prepared. This wasn't a desperate emergency response. This was a planned operation. She started paying attention to details. Security patterns, guard rotations, computer systems. On the third day, she managed to access a terminal while pretending to be sedated. What she found made her sick. SynthLife Corporation had created the plague, released it deliberately on human colonies. They planned to use her antibodies to manufacture the cure and sell it at massive profit. They would be heroes who saved humanity from a disease they had created, and Lily was their captive golden goose. She contaminated the next blood sample with deliberately altered biochemistry. Nothing dangerous, but enough to corrupt their synthesis process. Then she waited. The rescue came on the 5th day. Eric led Valeni security forces through the facility like an avenging angel. Webb was with him, along with hegemony peacekeepers. They found Lily in her cell, weak but alive. "Took you long enough," she said. "The electrical conduit should have killed her." Lily knew that with absolute certainty, even as her hand closed around the exposed wire. 10,000 volts surged through a circuit designed to power an entire station wing. Contact with that kind of current should have stopped her heart instantly. Instead, she felt a slight tingle, like touching a battery with her tongue. She let go and stared at her hand. No wounds, no pain. Her heart beat steady and strong. Webb, who had been reaching to pull her away, froze. "What just happened?" he whispered. "I don't know." 3 weeks had passed since the rescue from Synthlife. Silas Reed was in custody, his corporation dismantled, his manufactured plague cured using antibodies from Lily's contaminated samples. She should have felt safe back on Horizon 7. Instead, she felt different, changed in ways she couldn't quite articulate. The electrical incident was just the beginning. 2 days later, she walked into a storage room where a coolant leak had dropped the temperature to -40 degrees. She wore only a light shirt. The cold should have caused immediate tissue damage. Instead, she felt pleasantly cool, like stepping into shade on a summer day. Doctor Nina Cross ran the tests personally. Radiation exposure, extreme heat, caustic chemicals, vacuum simulation. Lily's body adapted to everything. Her cells restructured themselves to resist physical threats the same way they had learned to neutralize pathogens. "This is beyond immunity," Nina said, her voice shaking with excitement and fear. "Your body is rewriting fundamental biological rules. You're becoming resistant to physics itself." "That's impossible," Lily said. "You're impossible. But here you are." Nina pulled up cellular scans. "Look at this. Your cells are developing new structures we've never seen before. They're building shields at a molecular level. It's like your body decided that if diseases can't kill you, nothing else should either." Word spread fast. The Hegemony Council convened an emergency session. Scientists published papers arguing about what Lily represented. Evolutionary leap, biological miracle, dangerous anomaly. Everyone had an opinion. Nobody had answers. Lily sat in her quarters and tried to process it all. She looked human. She felt human. But under her skin, her cells were transforming into something unprecedented, something that shouldn't exist. Eric visited that evening. The prince had become her closest friend during the months since she saved his life. He brought tea and sat quietly for a while before speaking. "How are you handling this?" "I don't know," Lily admitted. "Part of me is fascinated. The scientist in me wants to understand every detail. But another part is terrified. What if I keep changing? What if I become something that isn't human anymore? Would that be so terrible?" "Yes. No. Maybe." Lily rubbed her face. "I don't want to lose myself. I don't want to become some kind of invulnerable thing that doesn't feel or care or understand what it means to be fragile." "You survived the Crimson Rot to save me," Eric said gently. "You risked Synth-Life's anger to protect human colonies. You walked into a plague zone knowing you might fail. Those choices came from who you are, not what you are. Your body might be changing, but your character remains." The Hegemony Council session the next day was intense. Representatives argued for hours about what Lily's evolution meant for galactic society. "She represents a threat to established biological order," insisted Counselor Vren. "If her genetics spread, we could see uncontrolled mutations across species. Or we could see the end of vulnerability to biological and environmental hazards," countered another counselor. "Think of the lives we could save. Should we even be having this discussion without Dr. Chun present?" asked Eric's father, Emperor Kale of the Valeni. "She is a person, not a specimen for us to debate." "She is both," said Counselor Wraith. "Her existence raises questions that affect trillions of beings. We must address them. The debate centered on one key question. Should Lily's genetics be shared? Could her immunity be replicated and distributed? Should they try to give her abilities to others? Director Hayes advocated loudly for a controlled genetics program. General Park wanted military applications. Corporate representatives saw profit. Religious groups called her an abomination. Progressive factions called her the future of biological evolution. Lily listened to all of it from her quarters via live feed. Webb sat beside her, increasingly angry. They're talking about you like you're a resource to exploit or a problem to solve, he muttered. They're scared, Lily said. I'm scared too. This is unprecedented. Nobody knows what I am or what I'll become. Do you know what you want? Lily thought about it. I want to help people. That's all I've ever wanted. But I want to do it on my terms, not because someone forced me or owns me or thinks they have the right to my body. An idea formed in her mind. She contacted Counselor Wraith directly. I have a proposal, she said. The next day, she stood before the council again. This time, she had prepared a presentation. You're right that my immunity could save lives, Lily began. You're also right that my genetics raise serious questions. So here's what I propose. I established the Immunity Archive, a protected database of my antibodies, freely accessible for verified medical emergencies. She pulled up the framework she had designed with Webb's help. The archive will provide treatments for diseases and biological threats. No cost for genuine emergencies. No military applications. No genetic experimentation. Just medicine, distributed fairly across all species and worlds. Who controls this archive? Asked Vryn suspiciously. I do, with oversight from an independent medical board drawn from multiple species. The Hegemony Council can audit it, but cannot control it. My body, my choice. But my choice is to help. And if we refuse, Vryn challenged, then you get nothing. I'll disappear. The galaxy is big enough to hide in. Lily met his eyes steadily. But I'd rather work with you than against you. This way, everyone benefits. The vote took 3 hours. In the end, the council approved her proposal by a narrow margin. The Immunity Archive became official. Webb would serve as director. Dr. Nina Cross would handle research. A board of medical ethicists from 15 species would provide oversight. Lily felt a weight lift from her shoulders. She had found a way to maintain her autonomy while still helping others. It wasn't perfect, but it was hers. That night, she stood at the observation window of her quarters, looking out at the stars. Her reflection looked back at her. Same face, same eyes, but something fundamental had shifted. She pressed her hand against the window. The cold of space seeped through the transparent material. Once it would have hurt. Now it felt like nothing. She was becoming something new, something that could resist disease and environment and physics itself. The transformation both thrilled and terrified her. An alert chimed on her communicator. A distress signal from a quarantined world called Tertius 9, a plague unlike anything in galactic records. Billions dead, days from total extinction. They needed her. Of course they did. They would always need her now. Lily read the report. The pathogen wasn't just biological. It existed in multiple quantum states simultaneously, making conventional medicine useless. Nothing they tried worked. The planet was dying. This one's different, Webb said when she called him. If you go there, exposure to quantum phase pathogens might trigger another evolution. We don't know what that would mean. We never know what anything will mean, Lily said. But people are dying. What else can I do? She looked at her reflection again. Human. Still human. But for how much longer? The ship to Tertius 9 would leave in 6 hours. Lily started packing. Whatever she became when she arrived, whoever she turned into after exposure to the impossible plague, she would face it the same way she had faced everything else. One choice at a time. One person at a time. One hope that maybe, just maybe, she could make a difference, even if it cost her everything she used to be. Tertius 9 looked like a graveyard from orbit. Cities that once gleamed with light were dark. Agricultural zones showed brown where green should be. Orbital facilities drifted silent and empty. For billion people had lived here 3 months ago. Now, maybe a few 100,000 remained, clustered in sealed bunkers, waiting to die. Lily stood at the transport airlock, staring at the dying world. Eric stood beside her. He had insisted on coming despite her protests. "You don't have to do this," he said quietly. "Yes, I do." Lily checked her suit seals out of habit, even though she knew the suit was meaningless. If the quantum plague got through, the fabric wouldn't stop it. Only her immunity had a chance. "This is what I am now. The person who goes where diseases kill. You're more than that. Maybe. But this is the part that matters right now." The descent took an hour. The transport landed in what had been a capital city. Empty buildings stretched in all directions. Bodies lay in the streets, preserved by the cold. The quantum plague killed fast, but left its victims intact. They looked like they had simply stopped mid-step and fallen. Lily unsealed her helmet. Eric gasped. "What are you doing?" "Finding out if I can help." She breathed the contaminated air. It tasted like metal and electricity. Something in it made her skin prickle. The quantum plague, existing in multiple states at once, impossible to pin down or predict. Her immune system reacted immediately, but differently than before. The plague didn't behave like a normal pathogen. It phased in and out of detectability. Her antibodies would lock onto it. Then it would shift states and slip away. Lock on, shift away. Lock on, shift away. Pain bloomed in her chest. Real pain, sharp and terrible. For the first time since the Crimson Rot, she felt her body struggling. The quantum plague was too strange, too fundamentally wrong for normal immunity to handle. Lily fell to her knees. Fever crashed over her in waves. Her vision blurred. She heard Eric shouting, felt him trying to pull her back to the transport. "No," she gasped. "Not yet. My body needs to learn. It's killing you. It's teaching me." She focused inward, feeling her cells trying different approaches. Her immune system adapted, evolved, transformed. Hours passed. The pain grew worse, then stabilized, then slowly began to fade. Something changed at a level deeper than biology. Her cells weren't just neutralizing the quantum plague. They were learning to exist in multiple states themselves, matching the pathogen's impossibility with an impossibility of her own. When Lily finally stood, she felt different. Lighter, like she existed slightly out of phase with normal reality. The quantum plague still lived in her body, but it was trapped, pinned down by immune cells that could follow it through its quantum shifts. "It worked," she said. Her voice sounded strange even to her own ears. "I can synthesize antibodies now. We can save the survivors." They worked for 3 days straight. Lily's blood provided the template for a cure. Medical teams synthesized treatments and distributed them to the bunkers where people waited. The quantum plague began to die out, unable to survive when its host developed quantum-phased immunity. People emerged from their shelters, weak and traumatized but alive. 400,000 survivors out of 4 billion. A devastating loss, but without Lily's intervention, the number would have been zeroed on the third night. Lily stood alone in an empty plaza. The city's lights were beginning to come back on as survivors restored power. She held up her hand and watched it shimmer slightly. Her cells were still partially quantum-phased, still existing in multiple states at once. She wasn't entirely in normal space anymore. Part of her existed elsewhere, in quantum probabilities and impossible states. She could feel it changing her, rewriting the fundamental rules of what she was. Doctor Nina Cross arrived on the 4th day with a full research team. The xenobiologist looked at Lily's scans and went pale. "You're not quite here anymore," Nina said. "Parts of you are existing in quantum superposition. You're simultaneously alive and something else. Present and absent. Physical and non-physical. Am I still human? I don't know what you are. I don't think anyone does." Lily watched her hand phase in and out of visibility. She could control it with concentration, but the ability frightened her. She was becoming something beyond biological, beyond physical, something that existed on multiple levels of reality at once. "Can you change back?" Nina asked. "I don't know if there's a back to change to anymore." Webb arrived the next day. Her mentor had aged in the months since she first infected herself with the Crimson Rot. He looked at her with a mixture of pride and grief. "You're disappearing," he said simply. "Not yet. But maybe soon. Lily showed him what she could do. Phase through solid objects. Exist in two places simultaneously for brief moments. Perceive quantum probabilities before they collapsed into reality. I'm becoming something else, Webb. Something that doesn't fit the old categories. Are you scared, terrified, and amazed, and lonely? Lily felt tears on her face. I don't know anyone else like me. I don't know if there is anyone else like me. I'm unique in a way that means I'll always be alone. You're not alone. Eric is here. I'm here. Everyone you've saved is here. But none of you can understand what this feels like. None of you can exist the way I do. She looked at her mentor. I'm grateful for what I've become. I've saved billions of lives. But I miss being ordinary. I miss being limited. I miss knowing exactly where I ended and the rest of the universe began. The Hegemony Council wanted her back on Centrum for more tests. Military groups wanted to study her quantum phase state. Scientists wanted to unlock the secrets of her transformation. Everyone wanted something from her. Lily stood in her quarters on Tertius 9 and made a decision. The immunity archive was established. Webb could run it without her. Her antibodies were on file for dozens of diseases, including the quantum plague. She had given the galaxy everything she could. Now it was time to figure out what she wanted. Who she wanted to be. Not as a medical resource or a scientific miracle or a strategic asset. Just as herself, whatever that meant now. She recorded a message for Webb. For Eric. For everyone who had helped her or cared about her or who tried to protect her from a galaxy that wanted to use her. I need time to understand what I've become. The archive will continue. I'll provide samples when needed. But I can't be what everyone wants me to be anymore. I need to be what I need to be first. Eric found her before she could leave. The prince looked hurt and understanding in equal measure. You're running away. I'm finding myself. There's a difference. Where will you go? Everywhere. Nowhere. Places where people need help but can't demand it. Where I can choose freely instead of being pulled in 100 directions. Lily took his hand. You saved me as much as I saved you. By treating me like a person instead of a thing. Thank you for that. Will you come back? Eventually. When I know who I am again. She left that night, slipping away on a transport to the frontier. Behind her, the immunity archive continued its work. Ahead of her, the unknown galaxy waited with all its mysteries and dangers and possibilities. Lily existed in multiple states now. Human and post-human. Physical and quantum. Present and absent. She would have to learn to live with the contradictions, to be comfortable with existing on the edges of reality. But first, she would help people. One world at a time. One disease at a time. One impossible problem at a time. Not because anyone forced her. Not because anyone owned her. But because she chose it. And maybe, eventually, she would find others like her. Or become comfortable being unique. Either way, she would face it the same way she had faced everything else, with courage. With compassion. With the stubborn determination to make her transformation mean something. The galaxy was vast and full of suffering, but was also full of hope. And Lily carried enough immunity to protect worlds, enough knowledge to save billions, and enough humanity to remember why it mattered. She was becoming something new, something impossible, but she was still herself, still choosing, still caring. And that would have to be enough. The frontier station called Haven's Edge orbited a dead star system. Nobody came here except people running from something or looking for something they couldn't find anywhere else. Lily had been here for 3 months, working in a free clinic that served refugees and traders and anyone else who needed help. She looked human again. Mostly, if people stared long enough, they might notice how she phased slightly when distracted, or how light bent strangely around her sometimes. But on the frontier, people were polite enough not to ask questions. Doctor Sarah Kim ran the clinic, a tired woman in her 50s who had given up a comfortable hospital position to help people who couldn't afford conventional medicine. She knew what Lily was. She didn't care. Fever case in room 3, Sarah said, handing Lily a chart. Probably just a viral infection, but check her thoroughly. Lily examined the patient, a young trader whose ship had stopped for repairs. Simple diagnosis, simple treatment. The woman would be fine in a few days. Normal medicine for normal problems. It felt good to practice medicine the regular way again, instead of being a walking cure for impossible plagues. Between patients, Lily checked messages on the quantum network. The immunity archive was thriving. Webb had distributed treatments to 40 worlds in the past month. Diseases that would have killed millions were being stopped with antibodies from her database. She had made a difference, even from a distance. Eric sent regular updates. The prince had become an advocate for medical autonomy rights, using his position to protect researchers and patients from exploitation. He missed her, but he understood why she had left. Some journeys had to be taken alone. Late that night, a priority alert came through. Not a request, not a demand, just information. A small colony world called Green Hill was experiencing an outbreak. Unknown pathogen, standard treatments failing, death toll climbing. They weren't asking for her help specifically. They were just reporting the situation through normal channels. Lily read the report twice. Green Hill had a population of 8,000, small enough that most galactic organizations wouldn't prioritize it, remote enough that help might arrive too late, desperate enough that people were dying while waiting for someone to care. She could go. Her immunity would probably handle whatever pathogen they were facing. She could synthesize a cure, save thousands, then disappear again before anyone tried to claim ownership of her. Or she could stay here. Keep treating patients the normal way. Let someone else handle Green Hill. The galaxy was full of suffering. She couldn't save everyone. She had to draw boundaries somewhere, or she would spend her entire existence rushing from crisis to crisis. Sarah found her staring at the alert at 3 in the morning. "You should go," Sarah said quietly. "I was trying to step back, to be normal again. You're not normal. You're extraordinary. And those people need extraordinary help." Sarah poured them both coffee. "I ran away too, from a career, from expectations, from people who wanted me to be someone I wasn't. I thought I was finding myself. Turned out I was just hiding. This isn't hiding, isn't it? You have abilities nobody else has. You can save people nobody else can save. And you're here treating fever cases that any decent doctor could handle." Sarah's expression was kind but firm. "There's nothing wrong with normal medicine, but it's not what you were made for. I wasn't made for anything. This just happened to me. Then it's what you became. Same difference." Sarah handed her the coffee. "Question is, what are you going to do about it?" Lily thought about her sister, about the crimson rot, about the moment she decided to inject herself with a fatal disease because someone needed her to try. She hadn't been special then, just desperate and willing. The immunity came after, but the choice to help had come first. That was what made her who she was. Not the transformation, the decision. She booked passage to Green Hill on a supply ship, leaving in 4 hours. The colony world was beautiful. Green hills rolled beneath blue skies. Small towns dotted the landscape. Fields of grain waved in gentle breezes. It looked like paradise until you noticed the empty streets and the makeshift quarantine zones. The pathogen was aggressive and strange. It attacked neural tissue, causing paralysis before death. Conventional medicine slowed it, but couldn't stop it. 2,000 people had died in the past month. 6,000 remained, many infected, all terrified. Lily walked into the largest quarantine facility without protective gear. The medical staff tried to stop her, but she just smiled and kept walking. She sat with the dying, held their hands, breathed the same air. Her body absorbed the pathogen, analyzed it, began building defenses. This one hurt. The neural attack caused pain that shot through her spine like electricity. Her vision blurred. Her hands trembled. For 6 hours, she fought the infection while medical staff watched helplessly. Then her immunity adapted. The pathogen died. Her cells had learned to shield neural tissue at a molecular level. She stood up, steady and strong, and let them draw blood for synthesis. Within a day, they had a cure. Within a week, the outbreak was contained. 6,000 people lived who would have died. Children returned to schools. Farmers returned to fields. Life resumed. The colony administrator tried to pay her. Lily refused. Tried to honor her. Lily declined. Tried to convince her to stay. Lily said no. "Why did you come here?" the administrator asked. "We're nobody. Just a small colony at the edge of nowhere." "That's exactly why I came. because nobody else would. She left Green Hill quietly, but word spread anyway. The immunity woman who appeared where help was needed, then vanished. Stories grew with each telling. Some called her a myth. Others called her a miracle. A few called her dangerous. Lily didn't care what they called her. She just kept going, one world at a time, one outbreak at a time, choosing where to help and when to rest, building a life that was hers, shaped by her decisions rather than others' demands. Months became years. She worked frontier clinics and responded to outbreaks. She developed immunities to diseases nobody had names for. Her body continued evolving, becoming more quantum, more impossible. She learned to control it, to exist comfortably between states of reality. The immunity archive grew with her. Webb uploaded her new antibodies regularly. Treatments reached worlds across the galaxy. The database became humanity's greatest gift to interstellar medicine. 5 years after leaving Tertius. 9. Lily returned to Horizon 7. She had changed. Older, stronger, more confident in what she was. Eric met her at the docking bay. The prince had become emperor after his father's retirement. Power suited him. He wore it with grace and compassion. "You came back," he said, embracing her. "I had to see how the archive was doing. The archive is magnificent. Webb is brilliant. But we missed you." They walked through the station together. Lily saw familiar faces. Dr. Nina Cross, still researching impossible biology. General Park, retired now, but proud of the defensive medicine the archive provided. Even Director Hayes, who had learned to respect Lily's autonomy, if not entirely agree with it. "I've been thinking about next steps," Lily said. "I want to train others. Not to have my immunity, but to do what I do. Go where help is needed. Choose to serve rather than profit." "A medical corps," Eric said thoughtfully. "People who dedicate themselves to frontier medicine and emergency response." Exactly. The archive provides treatments, but treatments need people to deliver them. People who understand that medicine is about service, not ownership. They spent months building the program. The Frontier Medical Initiative. Volunteers from dozen species, trained in emergency medicine and equipped with archive treatments. They would go where governments couldn't or wouldn't. They would help people like Green Hill, small and remote and desperate. Lily led the first class herself, taught them not just medicine, but philosophy, the ethics of intervention, the importance of consent, the difference between helping and controlling. She wanted them to understand that saving lives wasn't about being special or unique. It was about choosing to care when you could easily choose not to. On graduation day, 50 medical volunteers swore oaths to serve the frontier. Lily watched them with pride and hope. She had become something impossible, but her legacy would be ordinary people making extraordinary choices. That night, she stood with Eric at an observation window, watching stars drift past. "I'm not fully here anymore," she said quietly. "Part of me exists in quantum states, impossibilities. Sometimes I can see futures that haven't happened yet, paths that reality might take. Does that frighten you? Sometimes, but mostly it feels right. Like I'm becoming what I was always supposed to be." She looked at her hand, watching it phase between states. "I'm not human anymore. Not entirely. But I'm not inhuman either. I'm something else. Something new. Something beautiful," Eric said. "Something useful, at least." She had started this journey by choosing death to save a prince. Instead, she had become immune to all things. Diseases, toxins, physical harm, even the normal boundaries of reality. She existed between states, impossible and necessary. But the immunity wasn't what mattered. It never had been. What mattered was the choice she made at the beginning and kept making every day after. The choice to help when she could walk away, to serve when she could demand, to give when she could take. She was Lily Chun. Doctor, researcher, living archive, quantum being, frontier healer. All of these things, and none of them completely. But most importantly, she was herself, choosing her own path, making her own decisions, living her own impossible life on her own terms. The galaxy was vast and full of suffering, but it was also full of people trying to help. And Lily had given them tools to do it. Through the archive, through the initiative, through the example of what one person could accomplish when they decided that other people's lives mattered more than their own comfort. She wasn't a weapon. She wasn't property. She wasn't a resource or an asset or a miracle. She was a person who had become something more without losing what made her human in the first place: the ability to choose, the courage to act, the compassion to care, and that was enough. More than enough. It was everything.